Hello, welcome back live to Silverstone, round 6 of the FIA World Touring Car Championship. Cars on the grid in the shimmering heat haze of a beautiful May day in Northamptonshire, the home of the British Racing Drivers Club and the home of the British Grand Prix. And this weekend, home to the World Touring Car Championship, the first time the World Championship has ever visited Great Britain. Championship points after the first race here, now very much closer. Two between Muller, Dirk and Andy Prio, who jumps ahead of Jörg Muller. Gabriele Tarquini a point behind the top three BMW drivers. James Thompson also moving up a little closer as a result of his efforts there. And Alfa Romeo closed the gap on BMW to just 10 points. Seat also scoring heavy. Chevrolet losing two of their three cars in race one. Nicola Larini will not start race two. Seems as though the other two, including Alan Menu's damaged car, should get back out onto the grid. Jason Plato, 8th in race one, taking the first position on the grid. Top 8 reversed from their positions in race one onto the grid for race two. From 9th down, where you finished is where you start race two. Plato racing in the British Touring Car Championship for a living, and since they're not racing this weekend, his Seat, or he is driving a fourth factory Seat, similar to the car and near identical to the car he races in the UK. Alongside him, teammate Rickard Rydell, and it's a Seat 1, 2, 3 because Peter Terting, who is the best placed of the Seats quartet, will line up in third place on this reversed order grid. Hody Kane finished in 9th place in race one, so he just misses out on pole position, if you like. And there is Rydell, the familiar colours on the helmet of the Swede, who, like so many it seems in the field, David Leslie, who's a one-time British touring car champion.
Yeah, certainly a lot of these people here are, as we said earlier on, champions in touring cars, whether it be in their own country or another country, or even a European championship, as is Andy Prio, the current European champion at this moment in time. But yeah, full of very talented, very capable drivers, and that's what makes this racing so close. And as we said earlier, the top 12 places taken basically by all manufacturers, work-centred cars, and very difficult to get into there. Tom Cornell ended up being the highest placed of the independent guys, and with him his teammate from GR Asia, Vali Makela, was second in the independent class, with Henrique, who was actually leading the championship, finishing third right behind Makela. So the independent class just as hard fought as what it is at the front for all these works cars. But as we begin the first race, we've seen a whole stack of the 4 Alfa Romeos at the front, and now we can see 3 Seats at the front, and spoiling it for everybody in both race 1 and race 2 is this lone car of Andy Prio. The BMW UK car is still in there. It's now starting 4th on the grid. And as I said earlier, when I spoke to Andy during the week, he said if I can just score some points and be in the top 8 in the first race, that'll be great, and I'll try and do something in the second race, something similar basically. And all he wants to do is score some more points. He wants to be somewhere near the top of that points table when he leaves Silverstone this weekend, and certainly he's done a very, very good job in the first race, and looking as though he's in the right position. He's got a rear-wheel drive car. We know it starts very well off the grid, and he managed to get himself from 4th up to 2nd in the first start, and we'll see if he can do the same with those 3 Seats that are in front of him this time.
Alfa Romeos 1, 2, 3, 4 in the race, starting 5, 6, 7, 8 on the grid. There is Nicola Larini, formerly an Alfa Romeo driver, now a Chevy driver. Big ding in the door and in the front end of the car. The Lachetti going nowhere. Back end doesn't exactly look the way it came out of the Ray Mallock Racing factory either. That is another long week of man hours for that car, David. That's very substantially the wrong shape in all.
It is very substantially the wrong shape. That's the second car they've had to replace already this year because of big accidents.
Well, there you go. Lots and lots of action here for the fans to enjoy. Silverstone, the international circuit, basking in beautiful sunshine. Not as ludicrously hot as Manicourt, where track temperatures were 55 degrees Celsius, air temperatures around 35 degrees, which is up into the hundreds, but plenty of sunbathing weather. So the 3-hour GT race and the 2 touring car races as well. A very busy, action-packed weekend at Silverstone, and just perfect weather for it as well. Not too hot for the cars and drivers, and just marvellous viewing conditions for the huge crowd. In fact, the grandstands looking remarkably as if they're only half full. That's because every square inch of grass around has been taken by sunbathing spectators. And in fact, on the pit straight, probably one of the worst places to watch touring car racing. You need to get down to Abbey, you need to get down to Maggots, you need to get to the Luffield section where all the overtaking happens. Don't get too many passes made on the straight. Our clerk of the course, Eduardo Freitas, is waving away the cars as they make their way around on this warm-up lap prior to race 2. Top 3 cars are Seat's, BMW of Andy Prio, fourth as he was in race 1. Then behind him, 4 Alfa Romeos. There's James Toseland, the reigning World Superbike champion, who is flagging the checker at the end of the race. Out of the top 8, Jürgen Dirk Müller, 9th and 10th. I said Jordi Canet was 9th, he wasn't, he was 11th for Seat. Roberto Colciago in his Honda. Rob Huff, top and only finisher for Chevrolet. And Vali Makula, 2 cars behind his teammate Tom Coronel as the top independent ahead of Mark Enrici and Angelo Di Michele. The 2 Ford Focuses in amongst the independents, and Alex Zanardi towards the back of the grid after getting knocked off on the final lap. Alain Menu will start Nicola Laurini's car, as we clearly saw from that garage shot in the RML Chevrolet team, is out of action.
In actual fact, Alain Menu's car must still have a bit of a problem. He went out onto the circuit to join the back of the grid. Something was obviously wrong and came straight back into the pit lane, and they have been working on it ever since. And as the cars went off in a warm-up lap, the Menu car has gone off towards the end of the pit lane. Here we see it now sitting there at the end of the pit lane. So whatever it was obviously still a problem in the warm-up lap, so it had to come in, and there it will have to sit now, and it will start once the race starts and it goes past the first corner. Then they'll let Alain Menu's car out, so he'll be going out on relatively cold tyres compared to everyone else's very warm tyres. So Robert Huff again doing a very good job for Chevrolet this weekend. He's turned out on top of the three drivers and as far as finishing positions goes, and certainly he's starting in a reasonable position on the grid this time to be able to try and make the best use of his car, whereas unfortunately Mr. Laurini has another bent motor car, and that looks like it could be the 3rd chassis replacement in 3 meetings.
Bad news indeed. That really puts a big kink in the development program, never mind the budget. So Rob Huff and Jason Plato, we were cycling through the onboard cameras that we'll be using in this race. There's James Thompson, Rob Huff and Jason Plato. The relevance there: last year Seat teammates in Great Britain, this year factory rivals. Huff at Chevrolet, Plato staying on at Seat. Jürgen Dirk Müller then just outside the top 8, just outside the points in race 1, but they must be hopeful at least of taking some points in this second race. Jason Plato, well, first weekend for Seat in the World Touring Car Championship, starts race 2 from pole. Can't be bad. Didn't earn it on qualifying speed, but earned it by being 8th in race 1. Alain Menu, well, is he getting the thumbs up from the marshal? Looks as though they are about ready to go. He will have to start once the field has gone by, so he will be at a big disadvantage, and points I think will be very hard to come by. The grid then: Jason Plato on pole, Ricard Rydell alongside on the front row, both in Seats. Peter Terting, the 3rd yellow bumper, that's a Seat. Andy Prio on the left lane, that's a BMW. You can just see the white nose poking out behind in the shimmering heat haze, the car of Ricard Rydell. And watch the BMW as in race 1 from row 2 of the grid. Away they go. A little bit of a shunt on the driveline from all 3 Seat drivers, and despite a 70-kilo weight disadvantage, the BMW just rockets through the Seats, and Andy Prio has got to hope that the Seats hold up the Alphas for at least a couple of corners. And look at Jürg Müller, he has got in there as well in 5th place. He's getting the rub from one of the Seats. The yellow windscreen strip is Peter Terting. Alfa Romeo, the best of the Alphas, got to be Tarquini. He's been pushed off. It's Thompson, the number 6 car. Is Thompson, Giovanardi rather, yes, it was an Italian. He's been pushed off on the outside. Well, when you go around the outside into Maggots, David, and into Beckett's, you put yourself really at risk of being rubbed off the road, don't you?
Yeah, it's the worst possible place to try and overtake somebody. The slightest little touch and be off on the grass is exactly what happened to Giovanardi. Off he went down into Abbey. You can see right down the inside came Colgiaggio straight into and hit Garcia.
That was Huff.
That was definitely a Chevrolet, so it had to be Huff. So that'll be Huff out of this race, and Chevrolet unfortunately having a very poor weekend. This their home circuit at Silverstone really are struggling, but the BMW here has got itself right up into a point scoring position. That's car 43. And
Jörg Muller, what a start.
43 is Dirk.
That is Dirk Buddy,
Sorry.
right. What a start from him, you're absolutely right. Yes, Jörg Muller obviously getting a little bogged down. I can't see his car anywhere. We'll have to pick it up as they come across the line where he's got to, but at the moment, riding on board with him, chasing the Seats. And Andy Priaulx leads lap 1. Ricard Rydell a second behind. Jason Plato third for Seat. Dirk Muller fourth. Peter Terting fifth. Augusto Farfus Jr. sixth. The Alfa Romeos have gone backwards in the second half of lap 1. And in seventh place is Gabriele Tarquini. Now, I wonder, did somehow Andy Priaulx manage to keep a complete set of tyres for race 2? Safety car is out. That's the very last thing that he needed, but it's good news for Dirk Muller because he'll close right up on the Seat, and when they get the rolling restart, he will be ready to pounce on Plato and Rydell in a heartbeat. Safety car is out. That's the stranded car of Rob Huff. There you can see Antonio Garcia's car, and they are being pulled off the circuit, but down at Abbey, clearly it is a very major problem at racing speed. Well, no option there, David, but to throw the safety car out. They do everything they can to clear the circuit. Jaime Puig there, the Seat team boss. Just look at the way that the rear drive car accelerates away from the line. Farfus smoking his tyres. What happened to Dirk Muller? There he goes at the bottom of the picture. Very slow getaway from Dirk Muller. I think he stalled.
He simply didn't move to start with. When everyone else started to move, he was just not moving at all. So he's obviously had a major problem as Jörg off the start line there.
Yeah, see Andy Priaulx in the middle. What we need to see is around the first corner. Jörg Muller found gaps where nobody thought there were any in his white BMW, because turning in, he's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7th on the outside of a Seat, and then he finds a whole host of positions, and here he comes. Great direction. That's a fantastic call on the shots there, and there goes Giovanardi off on the outside, but Muller coming up through the field as well. Giovanardi making the rub there as well, and that's where it all goes wrong. Colciago gets too deep on the inside at Abbey. It just invites you in. It's 3 or 4 cars wide. When you get to the apex, of course, suddenly it's only 1 car wide. Tomo dodged the bullet on that one. The onboard replay, Thompson diving inside of all of the carnage as the Chevy safety car leads them around. Wow, dramatic first lap action. So let's gather our thoughts. It's Priaulx that leads the train. He's the white car. Then 2 Seats, Rydell and Plato. The white car is the BMW of Muller in 4th. Peter Terting in 5th. Augusto Farfus, Gabriele Tarquini, James Thompson for Alfa Romeo 6th, 7th and 8th. You see they're still trying to move that stranded Chevy, obviously jammed in gear, David. And
yeah, there's 2 cars down there. There was the BMW of Garcia as well, and I would think Colgiajo's car will probably go no further than pit lane, to be perfectly honest, because when you looked at the front of it, hit it fairly hard and really stove the front of that Honda in, and obviously the radiator's right at the front, but there you see what's happened. He's tore the rear wheel off because he's just caught the car as it was going past, and they're obviously having to drag it along because that rear wheel obviously is not going to turn, not when he's sitting at that sort of an angle, and they need to take that car off to a place of safety, which is what they're doing at this moment in time. Once it's in a place of safety, that's it. And there we see what happened to Farfus, trying to go around the outside, not a hope. Once you touch that grass there, you're off, and he was the one Alfa Romeo who'd actually got into gear and was actually going forward at that time. And then down into here comes Colgiajo there with a red and white Honda, straight in the back of Garcia. He spun round. All of a sudden, there is Hoff. He's at an angle when he hits that car, and it's very lucky that nobody else caught Garcia's car on the way through. So Garcia's car, while it was touched and spun round, had no real bother with it, or no real trouble, until it came round and was hit by Hoff's car. But there we see the lights are now out on the top of the safety car. The safety car coming around towards the end of the lap, around Brooklands there, towards the last corner, which is Luffield. Now you can see the cars are going to be queuing up behind each other. Now the Seats, one is right behind the BMW, and the second Seat is a little bit behind. He's a long way behind. That Seat has really held the rest of the pack up to let his teammate Rydell to get away. Plato has used some of the tactics that used to be used in the British Touring Car Championship in order to try and help your teammate, and he really, I can't say he was caught napping. He's not that bad a person. He had to hold the rest of the people up, had to hold that BMW up to try and give Rydell some hope of getting on a podium, some hope of doing really well in this race. And again, that's team tactics. Not very good tactics, I have to say. That's not what I would think is the right thing to do. You are out here to race. We need to be racing for position, and there we see car 7, and that's Farfus Jr. coming back from his off, and he's coming back very quickly.
In fact, it was Giovanardi that was eased onto the grass, but Farfus is coming up the order, and here is Gabriele Tarquini with Seat inside him. Peter Terting is not going to give any places away. He might be the young kid. He might have been picked up by Seat from the German Seat Cupra one-make series. He might be the new boy on the block. He might have a multiple touring car champion behind him, but he's not going to give away any places on board with James Thompson further back in the Alfa Romeo queue. Now, don't forget, these are the same 4 Alfa Romeos that were 1, 2, 3 and 4 in race 1, and not much has changed. So it kind of depends where you start at the moment, because overtaking in such a busy field is very hard, and Thompson is the recipient there of a good belt as Terting gets bounced up in the air, and that is one of the side effects, unfortunately, of very close racing between lots of cars. There were 3 wide. Terting got bounced up, was it by Tarquini, and couldn't do anything about it. He landed and punted Thompson off, and I think the safety car will come out again, David, because right down there in the gravel trap at Luffield is not where you need a car to be sitting.
No, it's not, but they do have what we call extraction vehicles here at Silverstone, so they have these tractor-like vehicles that will come out into the gravel trap, hook the thing up and try and pull the car out while the race is still going on, to try and stop too many safety car periods, because we remember this is a short, sharp race. It's only 14 laps long, and it's no good having most of it under a safety car, so they'll try and pull it out, I'm sure, with a tractor rather than put the safety car out.
The tractor hasn't got there. It's on its way across the gravel as the leaders come up to Abbey and down to Bridge Bend, looking back at Dirk Muller, and who was that coming hounding around the outside? There was an Alfa Romeo that was out braking himself. My goodness me. I think that must only have been Farfus. That was a huge approaching speed. So now they come down into the infield section at Silverstone. Crowded grandstands and the huge hospitality facility there. And look, in between, Tarquini gets a little rub there, dives back down, taps Terting, and Thompson very dramatically bounced up into the air. You'd think it's quite hard to move a metric ton of motor car. Not so, apparently. That was a very dramatic moment there for James Thompson, ending up in the gravel, and that's where he remains. The car is still there, but they are clearly thinking that not many cars are likely to go off on their own accord there, and I think they're going to leave it. Prio, Rydell, Plato, BMW, Seat and Seat. Dirk Muller in 4th from 26th on the grid in race 1. Quite incredible that he might get onto the podium in race 2.
It is. He wasn't expecting to go anywhere starting that far back, but he did get himself up to 10th place at the end of that first race, and that really was a dramatic drive all the way from the back. He got a little bit stuck when he got to the works cars at the front, but a fantastic drive to be there, and now he's in a point scoring position, and Dirk Muller, I have to say, is doing an absolutely fantastic job. But up front you've got Andy Pria holding up Rickard Rydell, and here we've got Jason Plato holding up Dirk Muller. So Dirk Muller, having started the weekend very, very badly indeed, having no real qualifying time and have to start from the very back, his weekend is getting better as these 2 races carry on.
Certainly is, and one of Dirk's most endearing qualities to a fan is his never give up approach. He could have been a rally driver. He's the sort of guy that if there's any moving gears and any moving parts, he'll try and get it to the finish line, and he doesn't normally leave his cars in that bad a state, it has to be said. But starting from the back of the grid, a lot of drivers would really have written off any chances. Dirk never writes anything off. I mean, he only lost the championship last year to Andy Prio on a countback on the number of race wins. He was the championship leader going into the last race, and Andy Prio managed to time on points, beat him on the number of wins only. I mean, Dirk Muller, bar 1 second maybe in the entire season, could have been the champion just as easily as Andy Prio. So I mean, a phenomenal season from him, and that's the kind of grit and determination that it takes. And there again, he's putting in the moves, and Jason Plato being very robust indeed in his defence. We heard Max Mosley saying, as we interviewed him on Saturday, that generally speaking the FIA doesn't approve of contact, and the stewards of the meeting definitely will try and discourage it. But he said, you know, from my viewpoint, and really the FIA's overall view of it, is if it's not dangerous or unfair, fair, it's touring cars, it's not single-seaters. You can get away with stuff, and Dirk again having a go, but that means that Farfus and Tarquini are right behind him, and that might be a problem for him in the next lap, because the Alphas are really starting to monster.
Yeah, that's a big thing for the BMWs. Their main competition, although the Seats are very good and they're scoring good points at the moment, their main competition for the championship is definitely Alfa Romeo. And now all of a sudden Dirk has got two of these Alfa Romeos, Farfus Jr. and Gabriele Tarquini right on his tail. So as well as trying to get past the Plato in front of him, he's now going to have to spend quite a lot of his time looking in his mirrors to see exactly where those Alfa Romeos are, because he cannot afford to make a mistake. Any little mistakes made at this level of international motorsport, World Touring Cars, will be penalised, heavily penalised by other people coming past you.
Ricard Riedel, the only race winner for Seat so far in their third year of their adventure in European and now World Touring Cars. Won the second race at Oschersleben last season, and he is definitely looking for a way past Andy Priaulx and for the lead of the race. 7 to go. We're at half distance on the international circuit at Silverstone, going through the Island Bends, named after 1960s Grand Prix ace Innes Ireland, a former chairman of the BRDC. The late Innes Ireland, one of motor racing's great characters and one of motor racing's great talents. And still, Seat run 2 podium places up for offer here, and they don't look like giving them away either. Live at Silverstone, round 6 of the World Touring Car Championship, being led by the man who started from pole, Andy Priaulx, in the BMW Team UK 320i, and Ricard Riedel now more than a car length behind him for the first time since the restart after the dramatic incident between Antonio Garcia and Rob Huff brought out the safety car. Riedel, David Leslie, half a second behind at the line, but he's been, well, almost his headlamps melting the paint off the rear of the BMW for the last couple of laps. He has got, some 5 laps to go, 4 laps after this one now. He closes right up. Was he having a little breather there, or?
I think it just depends whereabouts on the circuit he is, as how strong the BMW is and how strong the front-wheel drive cars are. And the Seat is obviously strong in certain places. And Riedel, of course, having been in the British Championship, having won the British Touring Car Championship, knows the circuit extremely well, as does Andy Priaulx. He's raced here obviously for many times. And Ricard is just hanging in there. He knows if he hangs in, he'll just try and get there without any mistakes, and as long as if Andy makes the smallest mistake at all, then Ricard will be in there. Ricard's had that one win for Seat last year. That was their first ever win in international touring cars, and we moved on now from the European Championship to the World Championship, and I'm pretty sure Seat are desperate to have a win in the World Championship, and Ricard sees it as an opportunity right here, right now at this Silverstone circuit. He's in a very good, very safe second place, and he'll wait and pick his time. He's got a few laps left to try and do it, and he's not in a hurry to throw it away.
Peter Terting with the damaged rear end after collision from Gabriele Tarquini earlier in the race that bumped him into James Thompson and Thompson into the gravel, just a corner back from where they are now. Dirk Muller behind him and Andy Priaulx defending hard there. And you're right, David, where they are on the circuit, generally in a braking area, Riedel will be almost running into the back of the BMW because he stops so much harder, so much later, because he's carrying 70 kilos less weight in the car. 70 kilos, about 170 pounds, is a fairly substantial weight. That's a pretty decent sized female passenger alongside, and in a car that weighs around 1100 kilos, it's not quite 10% of the weight of the car, but it's a good 5 or 6% more. It's starting to make a big difference to the way the car brakes and handles, and it's a puncture. Priaulx's got a right front puncture.
No, he just simply locked up. He locked everything up into that corner. He went in there too fast. That 70 kilos we're talking about, he just too much weight. He couldn't get it stopped. Both front tyres were locked up.
Priaulx has got a puncture. He has got a puncture. It was definitely the wheel rim I could see there, and that may well be as a result of some debris from an earlier incident, or it may be just a result of the tyres completely wearing out. But I appreciate what you're saying, David. He did lock everything up, but yes, that was purely because one wheel wasn't doing anything at all. And that is the end of Andy Priaulx's chance of a victory, or indeed any points from race 2. But you saw the jubilation, didn't you, on the Seat pit wall? They're not hopefully going to have to wait until Oschersleben in whenever it is, end of August this year, for a boost. It looks as though they may get a race win at Silverstone. This is for second and third, and there is Priaulx's tyre running flat into the braking area. It cost him the race lead and indeed any chance of a top 8 finish or any points.
And that's a real pity, because that was all Andy wanted to do, was score some good points, and he was in the perfect position just to keep in front of Richard Riedel and make no mistakes, do nothing wrong. He's done nothing wrong. Unfortunately, he's picked up a puncture from somewhere, got no idea where. It could have been any one of many things that would have caused it, but anyway, he's had that puncture, he's out. That leaves Rickard now with a good little lead, probably around about 3.5 seconds at this moment in time. But there's Andy, totally dejected, I would think, coming into the pits.
Absolutely not a good place to be at the moment, and particularly with Dirk Muller now in third place and looking for second. This is Dirk Muller looking back from Jason Plato, and the Alpha's there as well, and that means that Gabriele Tarquini and James Thompson, although they are not in great point scoring positions yet, or Tarquini gets by as well. Now this is the Jörg Muller, this is the Dirk Muller battle still. So Dirk having a lunge there, and he gets passed by two Alphas in two corners. Now that is quite dramatic. Now Monica Sips, who was nervously fingering her ring earlier, is looking a lot less nervous now, because suddenly the Alfa Romeos are starting to come good after 11 laps completed. This will be the end of lap 12 of 14, and finally that 70 kilo weight advantage is telling against the BMWs. May not be anything at all related to Andy Priaulx's problem, but it's certainly not helping the BMWs slow down or accelerate, and there's a lot of both here at this Silverstone circuit. Riedel for Seat, Plato for Seat. Now that would be another step forward from having their first win at Oschersleben. To get a 1-2 would be a real red letter day for Jaime Puig and his men, as they announced last week the shape and the look of the new car that will replace the current Toledo at the Oschersleben race weekend, the new Seat Leon. They launched it last week at Barcelona, and to then come here and produce a 1-2 as they start to develop that car, or continue to develop that car, will have a go at all the naysayers that say, well, they can't develop a new car and race the old car at the same time. Jörg Muller and Peter Terting still hard at it, and this is for 7th and 8th. Oh dear, and Terting losing a whole slew of positions there, and the championship points gone as a result. Just as I was looking at the timing screen, predictably and traditionally, the two pairs, the two cars, did they make contact?
Oh yes, while you were looking at the timing screen, I'm looking at the what's happening on the circuit, and the BMW just got into the back of the Seat and simply turned him around. Now that's one of those things, I suppose, Max Mosley was talking about. If it's unfair and if it's not right, then the steward will do something about it, and that certainly wasn't right. The BMW simply got hold of the back of the car, just drove into it and drove it round and turned it around before it even got into the corner itself. So that was unfortunate for him, but the BMW goes on its way. So wait and see whether the stewards of the meeting take any notice of what Max Mosley says towards the end of this race.
I know in his defence, Jörg Muller will say, for goodness sake, I've got 70 kilos of weight penalty. The darn thing is not slowing down at the end of the race, and I didn't deliberately punt him off. Now, whether they say, well, actually, tough luck, you should have taken that into account, or not, is neither here nor there. Riedel, Plato, Tarquini, Farfus, front-wheel drive cars, 1, 2, 3 and 4. BMW will be arguing for a return of the 20 kilo weight to the front-wheel drive cars. Hannay 5th, another front-wheel drive car for Seat, and then the two Schnitzer cars, 6th and 7th. They were saying their Hail Marys, their Our Fathers, the Angelus, anything they could think of on the Seat pit wall. Everything was crossed. I don't think I've seen Jaime Puig look so nervous since Oschersleben 2 years ago. But Richard Riedel will continue to be the only man who has won for Seat as they get to the final couple of corners. Tarquini and Farfus all over Jason Plato. It takes a lot to beat Jason Plato's defence. Richard Riedel wins round 6 for Seat, the third different manufacturer, the fourth different race driver, the fifth different race driver to win a race this year. And in second place, the first time ever in touring car racing, the first time in world touring car racing, Seat take first and second, Jason Plato second across the line. Tarquini and Farfus third and fourth for Alfa Romeo, fifth and eighth for Seat. Best rear-wheel drive cars, Dirk Muller 6th, Jörg Muller 7th as they come across the line. I don't think the Seat team will even remotely notice who was third, because first and second, you can see it, can't you? You can just see how jubilation has swept through them all. I saw smoke over at Luffield. I thought somebody had kicked up the gravel, but it's Tom Coronel's independent trophy Seat that has caught light, and that shades of the Lister last year, and that was, oh gosh, it wasn't at Luffield, that was coming across the line at the end of the race. So the smoke started at Luffield, but Coronel is darn well going to get those points if it half kills him. Luckily, it didn't do any such thing, but that's a dramatic end to Tom Coronel's race. Mark Enrici took the Independence win. Vali Macula, Coronel's teammate, in second. Giuseppe Ciro third. Carl Rosenblad fourth. Tom Coronel in fifth in the end, but Jaime Puig thrilled with that one. Well, Tom Coronel, we were talking this morning about the differences between his car and the current factory cars. He said, oh, I have no idea, I don't know what they've got, I'm really not sure what we've got still, but his is going to look a little bit more second-hand. So there's the result, Rydell and Plato, Seat's first 1-2. Tarquini and Farfus score strongly again for Alpha, and Hane means 3 Seats in the top 5. It is a fiesta, and there's going to be a good party going on in the Seat awning after this. 9th place, Mark Enrici, ahead of Vali Macula in the Independence Trophy with Giuseppe Tiro and Carl Rosenblad's BMWs, meaning that Front Drive didn't win everything in the Independence Trophy, even if they beat them in the big race. Welcome back to Silverstone. Rickard Rydell, the winner of round 6 of the World Touring Car Championship. And in second place, that man, Jason Plato. Seat's first 1-2 in touring car racing, and their first in the World Touring Car Championship. Rydell's second win for Seat is their second win in this series. And there you go, Jason Plato offering his congratulations as well. Good job by the Aardvark. Well done, Plato. Good to see the British drivers holding their head up high. And now that gives him plenty of ammunition to go back to the British Touring Car Championship organisers and say, look, we can run with the best in the world with this car, but we can't hold a light to the Vauxhalls and the Hondas in our championship. The weight breaks are not fair, and there'll be more weight discussions in touring car racing after this weekend, not just with him, but also I'm sure with the BMW team saying, look, we got absolutely spanked here by the front wheel drive cars. You changed the weights after Manicourt, could you kindly change them back again? And look how tight the championship is. Dirk leads by 2 from Gabrielli, tie for third with Andy and Jörg. 6 points further back is Augusto Farfus, 1 ahead of Tomo and 2 ahead of Garcia and Rydell. I'm liking that a lot. 13 points covering the top 8 drivers, and we're only in the third of 10 race weekends, so 14 races left to go. Alfa Romeo close on BMW. Seat narrow the gap a shade as well, now just 21 points behind the German manufacturer. For Seat and for the championship, a very, very good weekend at Silverstone for Rickard Rydell, a World Championship win. Jubilation in the Seat camp, and well-deserved, David Leslie. I don't think anybody begrudges them success. I think everybody is very happy indeed to say Seat coming to the fore and giving BMW and Alfa Romeo a run for their money. Probably even BMW and Alfa Romeo will be more than delighted that another manufacturer can get in and can win, because the more people you race against and beat, even if you don't win so often, the more prestige there is involved.
It's fantastic to see it. They've worked so hard to get this. They came here testing during the winter. BMW came and tested with them. Alfa Romeo did not come here and test when it was organised for them for a 3-day test here. And Seat felt that their car was very good and were moving forward. And here it's proved it today.
Rickard Rydell, this is great. Congratulations. First victory of the season. Very good for you and for Seat, I'd say.
Yeah, I mean, we really wanted to win a race early on in this season. We thought that Magny-Cours would be a good race for us, but we didn't really succeed. And I had some problems in qualifying yesterday, and we didn't do the best job we could. Fortunately, I knew after the first race that the car was really, really good, and I knew if I had a clean getaway from the second race, I could really compete with everybody. And I just followed behind Andy and was waiting for him to make a mistake and for his tires to go off, because he has the extra penalty weight this race weekend. And finally had a problem with the tire, but I'm sure I could have raced him really hard in the last few laps.
What exactly did you have as a problem during the qualifying?
I made a mistake on one of my runs, and we decided to save some tires for the races, which is good when the Sunday comes. But on Saturday I almost regretted that we should have used all tires, but then in the end it worked.
Thank you.
Thanks.
So Rickard Rydell, our race winner, his second win for Seat as a factory driver and second win for Seat in this Championship, in the European Championship last year, in the World Championship this year. And of course his teammate Jason Plato, his first appearance in the World Touring Car Championship, taking second position. A real red letter day for Seat. I think they're as delighted with the win as the British team members will be with the second place.
Jason Plato, this is first for you in the World Championship coming from WTCC. Great result. Does this mean you're going to stay?
Great question. I wish I knew the answer. But fantastic result for the team. I think myself and Rickard played a great game there. I needed to give him a bit of space and he could get on with his race. He was a little bit quicker than me. I didn't quite have my car the way I wanted it. But I thoroughly enjoyed my weekend here, and I'd like to come back for more, that's for sure.
Exactly, a very good result for Seat. You know the circuit very well, obviously, from past experience. Do you think that helped a lot?
Yes, for sure it helps a little bit, but you know, we've got Rickard and Gabriele and James and all these guys, Andy Prio, who've raced here before, so you know, the beauty of the World Series is you're racing against professional people. It doesn't take them long to refresh their memory of the circuit, so no, I don't think it was an advantage there, but nice to be here with a home crowd.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Very good teamwork. Jason Plato giving Rickard Rydell a real shot at victory, and taking one for the team, really, because with that he stopped himself having any chance of the win by holding back at the restart from behind the safety car. But in the end, it paid off handsomely for the team with a 1-2, Seat's first ever in touring car racing.
Gabriele Tarquini, that was quite an eventful race for the Alphas. Are you a little bit disappointed that there's not more of you up here with you today?
Yeah, it's sure the race was too short, the second race, because I lost a lot of time in the beginning of the race, and also with safety car we lost two laps, and I was very close to took the second place, but the race was finished too soon.
But it has been a good day for you. There's 2 podiums, and now you're really closing the gap, just behind Dirk by 2 points and in front of Jorg, which is good for the championship for you.
Yeah, I think now the fight will be better for the future, because the gap is close, and but the next weekend the BMW was lighter and I will be heavier. So we will see, but I'm still optimistic for the future.
With such good results in one weekend, do you think you are now the leader of the 4 Alphas on your team?
Yeah, it's a good team job. I think I was very lucky on the second race, on the fight. James was out with the crash with Terting and with me. Sometimes it's a question of luck.
Thank you very much.
Sometimes it is a question of luck. That's a real motor racing truism, if ever there was one. No luck for James Thompson, but Gabriele Tarquini takes points for third place. Good team play by Jason Plato. You said at the restart, David, that he's no fool, and he knew exactly what he was doing, and he gave Rickard Rydell a one-on-one shot against what should have been an inferior car in terms of Andy Prio, but Prio gave him a really good race, and barring that puncture, I think Prio would probably have held on to win it.
I agree with you, to be perfectly honest. I know Rickard said his car was strong, and towards the end of the race he felt he could really give a lot of effort and get past Andy, but Andy was there, he was the man in the lead, he was the man in control, and he was in control until he got that puncture, and then he got the puncture, and when he braked, that wheel locked up, then he braked even harder, the other wheel locked up, and the whole thing and was finished at that point basically, and all he could do was slow up with the hazard warning lights on as he did, and come gently back in and park it in the pit lane, and that's what he did. He didn't go back out again. There's nothing he could do with that. It's not his fault he got a puncture, and very unfortunate for him. He was the man in the lead, and carrying all that extra weight, it really was fantastic for him. But having said that, you know, for Seat, I am so happy that they have got their first World Championship win. They've worked very hard over the winter. They felt they've got a very, very good chassis. They knew when they went to the first race at Monza they were struggling. They still didn't have the engine to be able to compete on the really, really fast circuits against the Alfa Romeos and the BMWs. But here they are now, first and second, with Rickard Rydell and Jason Plato. Absolutely fantastic for Seat. Great for another manufacturer to be winning in this World Championship.
Huge roar from the pit lane, enormous roar, not just from the Seat team, but from an awful lot of people, I think. And Mark Enerici steps up as the independent trophy winner as well, as we get ready for the Swedish national anthem for our race winner, Rickard Rydell. honorary Spanish citizenship surely now for Ricard Rydell, the Swede. His second race win for Seat, and Seat's first 1-2. Great weekend for them at Silverstone. A very good weekend for the championship. Another pair of enthralling races. James Toseland presents Gabriele Tarquini with his second trophy of the weekend. One for third, one for the race one victory. And for Jaime Puig, well, it's just getting better. The team is getting closer and stronger. Their self-belief increases with every race weekend. Second and first here, their first time. And there is Alan Hyde on the microphone, Mr. Tin Top Tuesday himself. If you like touring car racing and want to hear other people, drivers and experts' views on it, and you've got a computer, you can listen online. Find Globecast Radio's website and listen in on Tuesday evening to Alan Hyde's Turbo Tin Top Tuesday. Jaime Puig, though, the man with the biggest smile, I think, at Silverstone. Top 4 in race 1 was no small achievement for Alfa Romeo, but first and second for Seat, I think, will increase the celebrations. And Marc Enrici, after being beaten into third place in race 1 by the Seats, takes the honours in race 2. So, fantastic weekend, David Leslie. Beautiful weather, fantastic racing, some very, very good results for the championship, not only for Seat, but for some of the drivers. Different drivers winning, different manufacturers winning. It looks like we've still got a really exciting championship on our hands, and next time we go to a completely different circuit again, to Imola.
Yes, that's right, and you know, all these different winners this weekend and the different people up there at the front, and the championship now, as far as the championship points go, has really closed up, very, very close indeed for this, the World Touring Car Championship, and everything is to play for the rest of the season. Back to Italy for the race at Imola in a fortnight's time, and that's going to be Alfa Romeo trying very hard to be winning at home. And now we've seen other people, the likes of the Seat people, there saying that we can do this as well as BMW, so don't forget us, we're going to be there, we're going to be giving you a really hard time. And Imola's going to be, like all the rest of the races, very, very close indeed.
There'll be less weight on the BMWs, more weight on the winning Seats and Alfa Romeos. Will it close up the gap? Will it? Who knows? It's impossible to foresee how these things are going to work. Imola, a very different racetrack to any of the three we've been to so far. But I think the one thing that we will find everywhere this year, the constant, is no matter who's in front, he'll have 20 people behind trying to displace him, and all of them with a very good chance of doing so. And I think perhaps Jason Plato summed it up best, actually. In this championship, you're racing with professionals, every man jack of them. A very, very strong driver lineup, a very, very strong team lineup. The manufacturers, I think, should be really very impressed with the effort they've put in, and even the ones that have had a rotten time here, and Chevrolet can certainly count themselves among that number. There is always another race weekend, there's always a chance to improve, and if you look where Seat started 3 seasons ago, being the also-rans to BMW and Alfa Romeo, then Chevrolet only have to look into the future and know that hard work and perseverance will get them there. So, championship standings then, with the BMW and Alfa Romeos firmly intermingled at the top. But it's Ricard Rydell and Jason Plato who won first and second honours for Seat here. Gabriele Tarquini's second visit to the podium. Marc Enrici ahead of Vali Macula. Macula taking 2 second places in the Independence Trophy, keeping the former Formula Ford aces' first tin top season very much on track. And in the championship, it could hardly be closer after 6 races with 14 left to go. Expect to see an awful lot more names in the frame as the season progresses as well. BMW, Alfa Romeo and Seat. Seems as though the championship playing field is pretty level at the moment, David. I would certainly like to hope so.
I think it's all closed up. Certainly BMW had a very large lead at the end, but they don't anymore.
Well, that is it then from Silverstone. From our entire Eurosport production crew here, from David Leslie alongside me, and from everybody else who's helped with the broadcast, I'd like to say thank you for watching, thank you for enjoying the sunny weather here at Silverstone with us. We'll be back in 2 weeks' time from Imola with more European World Touring Car action, I beg your pardon. Until then, from me, Martin Haven, it's goodbye for now. Bye-bye.